Hello and welcome to Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life, where we talk all things faith, finance, abundance, business, purpose, in all walks of life, both in church and in the world, all the things that we do to advance the kingdom of God and to fulfill our God-given purpose. That's what we talk about on this show, and we have a great time doing it. Listen, today's topic, today's driving question is the value of language. And two scriptures come to mind for me. There's, of course, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer, Psalm 19:14. But another one is life and death is in the power of the tongue, Proverbs 18:21. Again, we're talking about it matters what we say. It matters how we say it. It matters who we say it to. It matters the motivation behind what we say. And today's guest is gifted and purposed in the area of speaking, public speaking, expert MC, author, but she understands the power of the word. And we're going to be talking about that today in this edition of Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life. Pull up a seat, get your notepads out. You're about to learn something, and you're going to speak life into people after this show is done. We'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life. We have a great show and a great topic lined up for you today, because we're talking about the value of language. Listen, what we say, when we say it, who we say it to, why we say it, and our motivations and intentions behind what we say when we speak matters. Whether you are just someone talking to your family member on the phone, trying to encourage a friend, or whether, as our guest today does, you're speaking before large audiences at conferences and events all around the world. It matters. Language, speaking, and speech is a ministry. And so today I am really excited because we have the current cover girl, if you will, of Speakers Magazine, that great magazine that showcases the world's greatest professional speakers. She's an author. She's a high energy event MC. She is someone whose ministry is speaking to other people and pouring into other people through language. Please welcome to the show the one and only Quinn Conyers.
Well, I am super excited to be here. Thank you so much for that awesome introduction.
Yeah, so let's get it out of the way, because I'm always transparent with my audiences on all my media platforms. When me and the guests know each other, I've known Quinn since she was basically a prodigy, studying Black Enterprise, my main employer for so many years. And she was studying Black Enterprise and the history and legacy of Black Enterprise, and crossed my path while she was working on her master's degree, and was immediately impressive. Talk to me about where your head was then and where it is now with all that you've achieved and established as really a recognized, celebrated public speaker.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me on the show. It's interesting because when I think about the evolution and journey of my career, it really kicked off in undergrad, where I did study communications. And that's when I realized, I really want to be a speaker when I grew up. And I didn't know that it was actually a profession until I moved to DC and I was working on my master's. And Howard University was very entrepreneurial. It was nothing that I've ever even created. I mean, it was me coming from undergrad, where the goal was to graduate and get a good job, where I was coming and stepping on foot to Howard University, where it was entrepreneurship was pushed and exposed to me as a viable career option. So I knew that I wanted to marry my art of entrepreneurship with language. And there was one simple question that changed the way that I looked at speaking, that really launched my love for business, which was, how much do you charge to speak? And that's when the entrepreneur was born. And then, as a way to educate myself, because this was what, 2007, 2008, very early on, I didn't really know where to go to get the entrepreneurial education. And somebody mentioned Black Enterprise Magazine as a start. So that's where I began to really kind of do some research and begin to make my research around the magazine and how the magazine educates Black entrepreneurs now, but how did it start in its infancy? So since then, I am doing what I said I was going to do, which is leave a legacy with my language and change the world with my words. And I do that on various platforms. I do that as a professional event MC, where organizations come and hire me to host, moderate, do fireside chats with key individuals at their conferences, as well as people hire me to deliver dynamic presentations. And it's usually to entrepreneurs and teaching them how to use their voice strategically to grow their business. So that's what I've been doing full time. I've been a full time entrepreneur, speaker, and MC for the last 10 years. I'm super excited about that. And I definitely would say that Black Enterprise was one of the foundational tools that gave me education and tools to know that this could be a career that I pursued when I got older.
Tell me about what it means, and I know the publisher of Speakers Magazine, Pam Perry. I've known her for a very, very long time, very respected colleague and friend in the media space. What does it mean for you? I mean, you've already accomplished a lot. Like you're 10 years in, being able to build a successful business, career, and life in this calling to being a public speaker and using language to pour into people. But what does it mean when a magazine that's dedicated to showcasing speakers chooses you for the cover?
This magazine, and I'm saying this because I'm holding it up, right? This magazine represents not only that my voice is valuable. You know, there are so many professions and industries that are out there, and speaking, let alone emceeing, is not something that's promoted. You can't get necessarily a degree in emceeing. However, when she decided that my voice was worthy enough to be highlighted, amplified, not just in the issue, on the cover of it, it gave me my confirmation, my validation, my affirmation that I needed to know that this gift that God put in me, now the world is starting to recognize. So I was grateful. I was honored. I was humbled. But more importantly, I think that this magazine and me being on the cover serves as inspiration and motivation to other people who have a gift of gab, that your gift truly will make room for you. And if you keep at it and you are serious about your craft, you never know what doors, whether it's media, whether it's, radio, whether it's television, or whether it's a stage, that can open up for you. So this is just a visual representation that my voice has always been valuable, and others are starting to recognize it as well. So I'm grateful.
One of the things that you do well, obviously, as a veteran, but I think you had an inkling of even at the beginning of your journey. And again, I do public speaking. I host events both for Black Enterprise and others. So in some ways, I'm following in your footsteps professionally. But I try to tell people that it's important for you to understand who you're talking to.
Sure.
Why. So whenever someone gets into public speaking and say, "Oh, I want to speak to everybody," and I'm like, speaking to everybody is like speaking to nobody. And you describe yourself as an audience activator, a thought perspective shifter, a communications connoisseur, and obviously as an MC, you are a partner in the experience of an event's experience partner. Talk about how important it is not only to, first of all, know you have a voice, know that voice has value, but to understand that your ability to define what that value is to those who are going to receive and hear your voice. How important that is if you're going to be an effective speaker, whether you do it for a living or you just want to be effective in your job or effective at your church or effective in your family, that the point is to be able to deliver value, not just to be able to get up and talk.
Yes, I mean, you hit it on the head. A lot of people, especially if you do it effortlessly and you look good at it, it seems like you're just getting up there and talking. But true speakers are not speakers at all. If you are a true speaker and you study this art, you really will shift your mindset from being a public speaker to a powerful presenter. And I knew early on that I wanted to be a powerful presenter. I knew that I wanted to command the crowd. I knew that I just didn't want to necessarily talk and speak and use words and have them come out of my mouth. I knew that I wanted my words, my language, my message to be meaty and memorable. And that's when I began to play around with language in a different way. That's how I began to do things on stage that will bring my presentation to life, because when you have the attention of an audience, it is now my job to be able to inspire, motivate, and empower you. And if I'm not doing that, I'm disrespecting my audience. And I never want that to be. So if you are a speaker, an entrepreneur, understand that part of your job is preparation, and part of your job is to take that audience through an emotional roller coaster, but teach them something that can rock their world or blow their mind. Or it doesn't have to be something completely different. Your job could be to give a different perspective on a subject that's already out there. So a lot of times you are called to shift the thoughts of certain people who are in the audience. So when you look at it as, how can I motivate them? How can I inspire them? How can I shift their thoughts on a common subject or topic? That's when you begin to understand that you're more than just a speaker. And I take my assignment very, very seriously. This is not just a job. This is me being a part of being obedient to why I'm on this earth. And that's how I look at it. And that's how I approach every stage that I step on. How can I rock their world? How can I blow their mind? How can I give them information they can use right away? Not in 2 weeks, not in 2 years, not in 2 months. How can I give them something they can hold on to, that they can activate in their lives, their career, but more importantly, their business? Because I love speaking to entrepreneurs.
Yes. And obviously you're an entrepreneur yourself. Listen, we're here with Quinn Conyers, speaker extraordinaire, entrepreneur in the language space, speaking space. And listen, Quinn, when we come back in our next segment, I do want to do a deeper dive into your founding of your company, Speak to Society. You work with other people who use speech, whether they're salespeople and other businesses, in addition to being professional speakers. And this idea that I tell people all the time, people say, oh, did you give a great speech? And I tell people, I don't know. I'll see what happens when I see what the people do after it. The test of a good speech, like the test of a good conference, is what the people do after they leave. So listen, guys, we'll be right back. This is Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life. Sit tight. Hello, we're back with Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life. I'm your host, Alfred Edmond Jr., and we're here with Quinn Conyers, who is, in addition to being a speaker extraordinaire, the current cover subject of Speakers Magazine, but she's the founder and CEO of Speak to Society. And that's important to me, and it's important to you because it speaks to your role as a business owner. And we talk about establishing your own brand and purpose and lane as a speaker, but it's also to be able to replicate. Quinn Conyers can't be in all places at all times. So your ability to scale your brand and your message and the way you do things, your unique brand proposition, also lies into what you can offer to train other people to apply your principles to whatever their line of work is. So talk to me about that in the context of Speak to Society, and your work with, business communications professionals, sales people, others who have to be able to speak and do impactful communication in order to be effective in their work.
Right. So thank you for that. And one of the things I tell people is, like, speech, communication, language has gotten a bad rap for a long time. It was seen, especially within the corporate America, as a soft skill. And I believe that speaking and communicating well is not a soft skill. It is a superior skill that you need to master if you want to be super successful within your business or within your career. And when I thought about the name Speak to Society, I knew that I had a voice, but part of my duty, my responsibility, was to activate the voices of other people. And a lot of times people talk about finding their voice, and I disagree with that whole sentiment. I believe that most of us, if you have to find something, it means it's been lost. And I don't think that that's the case. I think that our voices have been muted and muzzled culturally. I think our voices have been muted and muzzled just because of society. I mean, a lot of women were told you should be seen but not heard, don't speak unless spoken to. So when I'm working with clients, especially entrepreneurs and speakers, it's not about finding their voice, it's activating what's already been there. And one of the biggest things that I teach them is how to level up their language. And I teach them how to get rid of what I call weak words or discount dialect, and how to replace that with wealthy words and luxury language, so every time they open their mouth, they can be seen as competent, credible, but most importantly, compelling. And I think that a lot of times we are losing jobs, we are losing businesses, not because we're not qualified, but because we don't know how to verbalize our value, we don't know how to articulate our awesomeness. So I teach them how to do that effectively, but more importantly, I go very, very heavy and intentional about the words that we use when we are describing our businesses or talking about our capabilities to get that next job or promotion. So the use of language and the words that we're using is very important to my teaching, coaching, training style.
You're speaking appropriately for this show. You're speaking gospel truth. In my role at Black Enterprise, my interactions with people like Carla Harris,
Hmm.
Morgan Stanley, there's this whole need for people to understand that the fact that you work hard, especially when you talk about women and Black women in particular, we're famous for getting the work done, doing the extra work, you know, and then being passed over because of the we'll call it inability, though it's not, like you said, it's not a lack of ability, to articulate our ideas, to articulate our value, because people will take your work and leave you right there. Oh, she's doing a good job in the corner. Um, but your ability to be out as a leader, drop those gems and mics in meetings, drop those gems and mics in the presence of your boss and other decision makers, so that it's not only, boy, Quinn sure works hard. It becomes, no, we need Quinn in this meeting because we're not going to be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish without those ideas. And I think that speaks very much to your willingness to embrace that you do have a voice and you have a responsibility to the world to use that voice. I mean, now, near as I can tell, and I knew you when at the early part of your journey, you kind of already had a natural affinity for recognizing the power of your own voice. But you know, a lot of people and a lot of women, a lot of Black girls and women, like you're taught to be seen, not heard, be quiet, look good on his arm, look good in the meeting, but don't make waves and don't, again, you're acculturated to almost sabotaging your own self
Yeah.
by not sharing what you know. So talk to me about your own personal experience as well as what you do. Now I know you serve all entrepreneurs, you're not limited, but I got a feeling that there's a special part of your, what I call your professional ministry around getting women, Black women in particular, to say, no, you owe it to the world to let them know what you're thinking. And maybe everybody's not going to be comfortable with it, but you can't make that your problem.
Yeah, no, I love this question. So, yes, I think that I'm only 5 foot tall, but when I open up my mouth, I become a 5 foot giant. And I realized very young when I started speaking and talking that people would just stop, they would stare, they would ask questions. They were really impressed by my gift. And once I realized that not only had I had something to say, I can say it with conviction that could make grown men stop in their tracks, I began to polish and perfect that gift. That's why I got a master's in communication, right? Because I just didn't want to be talent, I wanted the technique as well. So you asked me about, women in particular, especially Black women. I actually wrote a book about it. It's called Speak Black Woman: How Women in Business Can Profit from Public Speaking, because I quickly realized that I was an anomaly and I didn't want to be. Most women would say, "Oh my gosh, how are you so fearless?" So one of the techniques that I use to teach people, especially Black women, on using their voices is to get rid of what I say discount dialect. And one of the words I want to give your listeners a tip right now, if you're a Black woman, definitely connect with me, but I want to share something with you that you can use right away. When you're communicating, when you're speaking, whether it's in a meeting, whether it's on behalf of your business, your book, or your brand, whether you are in a interview to potentially get a promotion or a job, stop using weak words. And the number one weak word you should stop using is the word help. Let me explain for a second. If you want to start a business, I can help you. You need extra hands on the job, I can help you. You need your taxes done, I can help you. You want to thrive as an entrepreneur, I can help you. I can help you. I can help you. And what happens is subconsciously you are promoting, packaging, and positioning yourself as the help. And what you do is so valuable. You are not the help. You are the hero to your job. You are the hero to someone in their business. So when you begin to understand that you are not the help. Matter of fact, we've been the help for so long, they made a movie out of us. So I believe that we should ban that word from our vernacular, from our, just our dictation, period. Because
Wow.
you can say, I can help you, or you can say, I can assist you, I can serve you, I can promote you, I can accelerate, but you do not help anyone. When you say help, you are putting your greatness, your ability, your expertise on a discount rack. And last time I checked, especially Black women, we are starting businesses faster than any other race. We are the most educated, the most who have masters and PhDs, but we're still using weak words like help to demonstrate and describe what we do. So if you want to give your expertise, your experience, your professionalism a heads up, you want to stop using weak words like help when you're describing who you are, what you do. You are not the help. You can coach, you can assist, you can empower, you can equip. We don't help anyone as Black women.
Boy, that is a whole entire word. And that dovetails into another area of when we kind of approach this calling, this profession with weakness. And I coach other entrepreneurs who are not trying to be public speakers, but they recognize that being able to speak is a great way to promote their business and their brand. And I tell them, even if you're not doing this to make a living, don't say you're available for free. I said, if you tell me the price tag, if you tell me a Rolls Royce is free, the price tag is zero. I don't care what it's worth. And you can't negotiate up from zero. Mm-hmm. You can negotiate down from any number, but you can't negotiate up from zero. And of course, if you're not confident, if you're not, especially like you said, with Black women, you're operating like the help. One of the biggest challenges is saying, no, you deserve to be paid for your time, for your expertise, for your travel, and the struggle with some people is saying, no, if I do it for free, then maybe the next time they will hire me. I say, no, you do it for free, they're going to say, oh, her price tag is free.
And people need to understand, and I love this point, that your intellectual property can make you an income. Number one. Number two, if you're an entrepreneur, speaking can be used three ways in your business: an income stream, a marketing strategy, and lead generation. So even if you're willing to waive your fee or speak complimentary, me saying that I will speak for free, again, that's discount dialect. We shouldn't use certain words that way.
Yes. Listen, everybody, we're getting taken to school. We knew that was going to happen when we invited her. By Quinn Conyers, speaker extraordinaire, entrepreneur, Emcee. This is Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. And if you don't have your notepads already, you better get them now because you're learning something. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life. We're here with language entrepreneur, and I'm going to call her that, Quinn Conyers. And Quinn, we talk about, both of us spend a lot of time on stages, whether we're doing fireside chat interviews with people, whether we're delivering keynotes. I'm really passionate about panel moderation and those types of things. And I tried to explain to people that each of these things are different things that require different skill sets, focus, training, and development. And one of the things that you do that I admire, I've done it, but I won't say I'm as good as you are, is to be able to MC an event or a conference, which is even a bigger thing because you're there to kind of carry the energy and, make the golden thread kind of go through the whole 2 or 3 days often a worth of content. Talk to me about that and this whole idea that, just like you said, public speaking almost kind of got a bad rap because anybody just like, well, I can talk. And there's more to public speaking than being able to talk. But specifically talk about what it means to be an event MC, separate and apart from being maybe a keynote speaker.
Yeah, it's all in the same speaking family. Some people are just the brother and sister, it's the parents. Most people know about the parents, which is speaking, right? But, speaking, training, emceeing, moderation, same family, just a different skill set. And, I come from the area of being a speaker. And to be honest with you, when COVID hit and things shut down, I was still hosting virtually. And I got an opportunity. People were coming up to me saying, listen, we've been doing our event for the last 30, 40 years in person. We need someone with your energy to really be a virtual moderator. Can you do that? And me giving that yes changed my whole speaking career because I loved rocking out for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes as a keynote speaker. But what I also realized is in this different speaking role, I was able to amplify and highlight the voices of other people. I was able to take what they did for that 30 or 40 minutes, take it down to a bite-sized message and regurgitate it to the audience so they can walk away with the key points. So for me, it was understanding that my zone of excellence was speaking, but my zone of genius was emceeing. So I had to make the intentional shift to operate in my zone of genius. And what I love about, T.D. Jakes is he said this: your genius is in your normal. And every single time I would open my mouth as a MC, people were just, I mean, completely trying to understand this skill set. And I realized that a lot of conference organizers don't know they need me until they experience me. And as an MC, there's so many different hats. We're doing so much more than just introducing speakers. You are being a moderator. You're putting a fire putter outer. You are making sure speakers stay on time. You're filling in time if the speaker is late. So I enjoyed being the calm when things can go chaotic in a conference world. So I could fill in certain ways. So me understanding and realizing that I had a gift within speaking, but within speaking had a niche within that, I decided to pursue that because it was an opportunity for me to be a unicorn. I believe that speakers come a dime a dozen. You do something great, you climb Mount Everest, you survive something like tragic, you can get a stage. But it takes a different skill set to be able to moderate an MC. And I decided to go the road less traveled.
You know, I totally agree with you. I explain it to people like using music as a metaphor. I said a good public speaker is like a soloist. Yep, they can do that solo. Then there's people that they can't do the solo, but they're good on a panel. They might be in the orchestra playing, you know, in the brass section or the percussion section. But the event MC is the conductor. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
they got to be able to, and you hit the nail on the head when you talk about speakers arriving late, speakers running over, the conference running over time, the sponsor wanting something that you didn't know before you went on stage that they got to have, but they're the sponsors, so you got to figure out how to work it in. You are literally conducting in real time, but you have to do it in a way that's almost seamless and effortless to the audience. They can't tell
Correct.
the chaos that you're managing. And this is something either you like to do it and you're good at it. Some people are like, just stay in the keynote speaker lane. You don't want that life, you know. But when you found out that that was something you really, that came naturally to you and you enjoyed, how did that change your orientation toward your own purpose? Your purpose for yourself in terms of your own ambitions, but more importantly, your purpose in terms of how you use your gifts to advance the will of God.
I questioned it. It was so
Mm.
different. It was so unique. I didn't say, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. Let me go out and get there. It really took some time for me to wrap my mind around it. I am in a few groups with a bunch of speakers. People were very discouraging. Why would you want to do that for an entire day? You can make that same amount of money in an hour as a keynote speaker. However, I also understood that this was a God assignment. And I also realized that many of us are good at things, some of us are great at things, and then some of us never even realize that we could be grand. So we settle for good or great because we don't understand that grand is available. And when I began to host events for national organizations like Nike, Walmart, UPS, National Association of Business Owners, I realized I was grand at this. The fires I was putting out, the way that I was working with the event planner to keep people engaged, the way I was able to activate attendees so they were raving and returning and building relevant relationships, saying, I'm coming back to this event every year as long as Quinn is on stage. It let me know that my superpower as a speaker didn't have to be limited to the keynote spot. I realized that I was called to something different. And because of that, I was able to be a unicorn, and I took a lane and made it my own highway. So me, it wasn't just something that I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I struggled with it. I wrestled it. You know, I was just like, I don't know. I know I'm supposed to speak. You know what I mean? But at first I wanted to keep it safe and stay with keynoting. But God pushed me out of my comfort zone and was like, yeah, no, I need you to support and activate the voices of other people. So not only do I speak, I MC, and of course I serve as, you know, a coach to entrepreneurs when perfecting their pitch, as well as perfecting their public speaking skills because they are requested to speak because they started a great business. So
Yeah.
I'm allowed to be multifaceted with my speaking gift.
You know, you said something earlier in the show. You said the zone of excellence versus the zone of genius, which I think is amazing. And I tell people, and I've experienced in my own career and with all the people I've mentioned and coached over the years, that usually what gets in your way is not you choosing bad over good. Usually by the time you mature to a certain part in your life, you know not to choose bad over good. It's when we choose good over excellence and excellence over genius or greatness. Like it
Mm-hmm.
becomes, because the world will reward you for you got that. Just
Stick with
do
that.
it for more. Stay with that. We love you. We'll pay you. We're good with that. And I've experienced it in my career because, I mean, you know some of this. Um, my career has been me letting go of things to try something different. My mother said I'm allergic to boredom. And so I've heard all my life, man, you're doing good at that. Why would you? You're doing good as the editor-in-chief of Black Enterprise Magazine. Why would you leave that to go become editor-in-chief of blackenterprise.com? Why do you want to do that? And of course, this is before we realized digital was going to be the future and magazines were going to fade out. But I want you to speak as we come back for our next segment, our final segment, about the importance of being willing, even if it's not comfortable. Like you said, you resisted the idea at first, of understanding that often settling for good or good enough can actually deprive you of fulfilling your real God-given potential. And we live in a world that says, hey, you're making money, people are happy with you, why would you let that go to do this other thing that you're feeling called to do? And just having the courage to both talk to yourself and talk to other people. Yeah, this is scary. I don't really feel like I want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Listen, hold that thought. We're listening to Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life. We're here with Quinn Conyers, speaker, expert, MC, trainer of other speakers, coach of other entrepreneurs. We will be right back when we talk about leveraging language in your life and in your career and hopefully in your ministry. Hold tight, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life, where we've been having a powerful, powerful conversation with Quinn Conyers. Powerful not only in what she's sharing, but what she's teaching. For some of you, you're going to open up new opportunities for yourself as an entrepreneur, maybe a new career, maybe a new income stream, because all of us, as Quinn says, we have a voice. We're not always confident or feel trained and prepared to use it in a way that's effective for our own lives and for the God-given purpose we might have been put on earth here for, whether it's being a leader in your own family or speaking before large audiences around the world. And so with that in mind, Quinn, I really wanted to bring up something you said earlier about your ability to, I would say, process your experiences as a human being, as a person, as a professional, and using language to distill that in such a way that it does bring value to other people. Like you said, your role as an MC is to help people to amplify their voices and their messages in a way that's effective. Talk to me about that approach to your career, your life, and your profession, as people, like you said, everybody thinks they can be a speaker. Not everybody is impactful in that way.
Yeah, I would say for me, it was number one, understanding that there was value in my voice, right? There was value in the work that I did as an MC. There was value in the work that I did as a speaker. That was the first step. The second step, which is the hardest step for most entrepreneurs and people who are looking to either advance in their career or potentially get a new position, is verbalizing that value. So we know what we do is amazing, but are you able to explain it in a way that people get it, want to support it, invest in it, buy it, hire it? And that's where I learned that it's not enough just to be talent. Like, you have to be able to be your own advocate. So what I realized in my career was, this is not enough for me to be a speaker. I have to be able to verbalize to an event organizer why I should be doing a keynote on their stage, or why they need someone like me to MC versus a voluntold board member, right? That they're going to just grab somebody because they think that it's easy. So I think one of the things is, language has been around since forever. I'm a mom of 2 boys, and I remember literally having to go take my son to the doctor, and my doctor was like, does your son know 6 words? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. And she judged his development milestone based on his language. You know, if you ever get arrested, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do can be held against you. You know, if you think about marriage, I checked in all 50 states, Mr. Edmond, you cannot give a heads up. You can't give a thumbs up. In order to be legally married, you have to say, I do or I will. So language and communication has been around since the beginning of time. But for whatever reason, when it comes to our own voice, I believe that many of us need some assistance with activating our voice. And that's where I come in. And I believe in the role as an MC, I can really activate voices in a way and be strategic about it so people feel comfortable and confident on stage. We haven't talked about it, but public speaking is the number one fear of all Americans. So I don't take this gift for granted, and the fact that I don't have in my heart to be an astronaut, I don't have in my heart to be a biochemist, I have in my heart to use my voice, I take that gift very seriously. And that's why I'm super serious, intentional about partnering with organizations and conferences who see the value in my gift and are willing to partner with me to be able to bring their conference, their event, their experience to life. So speaking in my voice is not just words that come out of my mouth. I believe that my voice has a heartbeat. My voice has arms and legs. It's a living, breathing instrument that I use as a part of me being obedient with my gift.
We now know, especially now in the age of social media, language is power. I mean, the ability to speak life or death into people is literal today in terms of what people say to each other and how that impacts the decisions that person might make, even about their very own lives. And we talk about the impact of bullying. And now more than ever, responsible use of language as a tool or a weapon
Correct.
is a real thing. And being able to master that, get past the fear of it, and to master it is about your responsible interaction with other human beings, especially young people. I mean, because we know what the things we might hear our children hear. As a mother, I know you're very vigilant about what they hear, what is said to them, how they interpret and what they say to other people. So, talking in a broader sense about both as an entrepreneur, as a woman of faith, the responsibility of recognizing that we do have the power of life and death and what we say to people.
Sure.
I remember, sometimes I'll say something. I've been at Black Enterprise now. I'm one of the longtime senior executives. And I'll say something that to me was an offhand, just jokey remark. And someone else will say, no, that person heard it from Alfred Edmond Jr. and you thought it was an offhand remark. They took it very seriously. You need to go talk to them because they think they're about to get fired, or they think you're mad at them, or they think, and it's like, no, I'm cool. They don't. And so even now, even when it's just being casual, I'm like, you got to be mindful of the power of what you say to people.
Sure.
There's no such thing. That doesn't mean you got to like ruminate over every word that comes out of your mouth, but there is a certain responsibility you have to take about
Sure.
whether what you're saying is a kindness, when you see somebody on the train, or is going to maybe ruin their day and you just thought it was an offhanded remark. I hate to be going all over the place, but when I talk to you as a language expert, entrepreneur, and professional, you do recognize the power of your words and the impact it has on people.
I do, and I want to kind of go a little bit deeper into what you just said as well. And words do have power, but just because I'm loud doesn't mean I'm right. And I think that sometimes that passion can overshadow judgment. Passion or energy or excitement, or because I am a very passionate communicator and I am confident with that, it doesn't mean that if my words are soft that they're any less powerful. And I tell people all the time, you don't have to communicate with such energy and passion as I do. Your whisper can hold weight. And if you know how to still command and demand the attention with the English language, you will be promoted. You will get more business. Warren Buffett said it best. He said a person's credibility increases by 50% if they know how to communicate well. So communications and language is not a nice to have. It is a necessity to be able to thrive in your business and your career. And if more people understood that, and more people, I always get asked to speak at different business accelerators and programs, and there's always one module, one session on pitching your business or communicating. We need a whole business communication 12-week course because there's so many different ways. The way that you would talk to somebody about selling your product versus the way that language you would use to potentially close an investor is different. And I believe a lot of us don't understand how powerful our voices can be, but more importantly, how our voices can be a catalyst to get funded, a catalyst to attract clients, a catalyst to get speaking opportunities. So if anything else, I want people to just understand how much value is in their voices and being intentional and deliberate about highlighting their own voice, especially when it comes to their business, their book, or their brand.
Listen, Quinn, I know we're coming down the home stretch of our conversation, and I want to make sure that people in our audience and beyond can take advantage of the wisdom, the expertise that you offer through your company and on other platforms. What's the best way for people to continue to follow what you do, get access to your books, your products, know when you're going to be speaking someplace, or where they can get some training for you? What are the best ways to be connected with you on social media and beyond?
Absolutely. LinkedIn is when I know that I'm serious and you're serious. So if you connect with me on LinkedIn, that is the way to go. So I am Quinn Conyers on LinkedIn. I'm also Quinn Conyers across all social media platforms, but LinkedIn is my social media platform of choice. If you're having a conference, if you're hosting an event, definitely connect with me at quinnconyers.com. That is my one-stop shop to learning about my Emcee services, my speaking, but more importantly, if you're interested in really connecting, but also learning how I can be advantageous to something that you're planning. February is right around the corner. We have March, Women of Power, which has been on my list forever to get there and do some type of hosting or moderating. Please reach out to me. I am on a mission. I am on a mission to amplify, illuminate, and highlight the voices of entrepreneurs and speakers. And if these are Black entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs, you are the people who I want to serve and amplify your voices. So again, connect with me, reach out to me, tell me that you found out about me through this awesome and amazing, interview. Again, LinkedIn, Quinn Conyers, or go to quinnconyers.com, and I would love to exchange energy with you.
Yeah, and I share your position, Quinn. LinkedIn is the most important platform as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I'm a social media guy. I love playing on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky now. But like you said, if we're connected on LinkedIn, I know it's serious.
Correct.
We're actually here to accomplish something if we're on LinkedIn. So I share that. Listen, Quinn, you're always, all the years that I've known you, always passionate, always generous with what you know, what you can teach to other people, always serious about using your voice. Always admire you for that. I heard you about Women of Power. I know we talked about that before. Those who don't know, our Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit that we do every year. Listen, just thank you for taking the time to be a guest on Be Lifted Up Radio.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be in touch. Guys, hope you learned something. I hope you took notes. And I hope you'll be following up with Quinn Conyers as you achieve your goals and leverage language as a power, as a gift, as a talent in your own business, career, and life. Stay tuned. This is Be Lifted Up Radio, and we'll be right back. Listen, we just had another great edition of Be Lifted Up Radio, what I call information-dense content. Again, I quote something my grandfather told me, who was a preacher, a reverend, a long time ago. He said, there are some preachers that give you light, but no heat, meaning they're talking good stuff, informative stuff, but they don't make you feel anything. He said, there are preachers that give you heat, but no light. They get you excited, but when you walk away, you're empty. The best preachers, and I'm going to say the best speakers, give you both heat and light. You're excited, you feel it, but you also walk away with things that you can use to actually change your life. And that's what we just experienced with our guest today, Quinn Conyers, when we're talking about language as a gift, language as a power, the fact that you speak life or death to people, and that but you have a responsibility to use your voice. In this case, we're talking about professionally as an entrepreneur, but also in everyday life. So again, indeed, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. This really speaks to the gift that God has given for us to be able to speak, but also the responsibility to do it in a way that profits and advance the kingdom. Listen, this is Alfred Edmond Jr. I'm your host for Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life. You can listen to this episode and every episode of Be Lifted Up Radio at liftedupradio.com. We're on the Mocha Podcast Network.com, podcast plural, Mocha Podcast Network. You can catch Be Lifted Up Radio on our YouTube channel. Again, B Lifted Up Radio. We're on all socials, Instagram, Facebook, X, at Be Lifted Up Radio. And you can catch us on Sirius XM 141 HUR Voices at 5 p.m. on Sundays, with replays on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings at 5 p.m. Eastern. Listen, thank you for joining us. May you continue to be blessed in purpose and advancing God's kingdom. And tune in for the next episode of Be Lifted Up Radio, your guide to living an abundant life.